Greetings and salutations, my fellow mortals.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Hit the Books Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Holcomb.
I'm Emery Saunders.
And I'm Nick Marlatt.
And we're here to bring you all the nerdy news you need to know about this week. For those of you unfamiliar with the show, each and every week we go through a bunch of news topics about the world of gaming, of comic books, of movies and television, and sometimes animated content as well. So
Sometimes. Sometimes.
Only lewd one, though. Speaking of which, if you ever want to reach out to the show and send Emery a copy of your lewd Sonic the Hedgehog, specifically Edgy the Hedgehog fan art,
I told
please
you.
email.
I told you last time. We're not doing that.
Yet.
HitTheBooksVids@gmail.com.
I swear to God.
So, for those of you following us every week, you'll have noticed that there isn't an episode for last week. Unfortunately, Nick and I recorded a great episode, but we had some severe audio issues that really made it unpleasant to listen to or watch.
Difficulties.
Maybe I'll put it as like a Patreon tier in the future, like lost episodes where I just put lost footage.
Actually, with the audio quality of that one, you might put that out for people who don't subscribe to Patreon.
Yeah,
they
as
are
a punishment.
forced to listen to that one.
So unfortunately, there is no episode 61, so we're jumping straight into 62. But the good news is we have Emery back, so
Hooray!
you can see his beautiful, freshly shaven face.
That was the real malfunction. I wasn't here.
But we believe we have that all resolved, so should have a great episode for you today. Now, what have you guys been watching, listening to, reading?
I went through the entirety of Peacemaker Season 1, and it's fantastic.
Interesting.
Oh my God. I have never been more affirmed in my belief that one person should write a show from beginning to end. And James Gunn did exactly that, and it shows.
I will have to put that on the list.
Oh, you'll need to put that on the list.
I've
also,
heard...
for the first episode, don't have your kids there because there might be a small moment of full frontal.
Ooh. Maybe.
Oh.
I mean...
yeah. Again, it's a small moment. It's a very small moment.
Emphasis
It's
on
very
small.
I don't want to say your boy John Cena did steroids, but...
Oh, shrunken balls.
Yeah, I watched that, and I've been catching up on Doom Patrol, and it's still proving to be everything that I want from an X-Men TV series.
Really?
Oh my God. It is that good. It is that kooky. It is that... It is exactly what I expect from a team of misfits trying to live together and failing hard at every fucking turn.
It's beautiful.
Fantastic.
Brendan Fraser's best role in like 10 years.
Oh my God.
Brendan Fraser's only role in like 10 years.
Of note. Of course,
hurts.
he had several things canceled recently, so including Batgirl. So
it still hurts.
Yep.
I forgot he was in
Unfortunate.
that.
But yeah, that's what I've been watching.
Nice.
All right. How
As
about
for
you,
me, I I got caught up, I guess. There actually a new one launched on Friday, but before Friday, I was fully caught up on the new season of Mystery Science Theater.
Ooh.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. If you haven't watched it, definitely check it out. I was telling you guys, I think the last actual episode that we did about the Doctor Strange ripoff.
Yeah.
That one, by far my favorite. Absolutely hysterical. And that movie is so incredibly bad. It's so bad, it's perfect.
That would be perfect for the show then.
Dr. Mordred, I think is what or Mordo or something. I forget.
Yeah, they should have just called it Mr. Weird.
Yeah, exactly. That would be fantastic. Other than that, watching a couple other Hulu, Netflix-esque shows. couple episodes behind on Only Murders in the Building. If you guys haven't checked that out,
That's a Hulu show, right?
That is a Hulu show.
It's in the news.
It's pretty good. It actually is. It's pretty funny. I'm not a huge Martin Short fan, but Martin Short and Steve Martin together, classic. I mean, absolutely classic.
So it's a comedy?
Yeah.
Okay. I have no idea what it's about.
Drama comedy. It's about a group of 3 people. It's Martin Short, Steve Martin, and Selena Gomez, who live in this super luxurious New York apartment complex, and they find out through each other, or through a series of events, they end up meeting each other and find out that they're all fans of true crime podcasts. Well, then there's a murder in their building, so they decide to put on a true crime podcast and try to solve the murder.
Oh my God.
And it's
a good premise.
Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah,
So.
it'll be in the news later on, but yeah, good shout out. Well, because I'm a true professional, I forgot to do all of the mandatory promotions and intro stuff. So you can always reach out to us at HTBVids on Twitter. You can find us at HTBVids.com. You can also go to Facebook.com/HitTheBooks. And of course, Those Natural Ones airs every Tuesday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/Those Natural Ones.
Yep. And Facebook.com/Those Natural Ones. You can actually email us directly at thosenaturalones@gmail.com as well. We also have YouTube, which will be linked in all of that information as well.
Great. All right. Well, as far as what I've done, some of this is rehashing from last week because, again, lost episode. But I finally did catch up with my Marvel stuff. Now I'm behind because SheHulk has aired.
Yeah, I
their
haven't
first
watched
episode.
it yet. I haven't watched the first episode of SheHulk.
Oh, I actually did. And there's a little bit of controversy going on with this show because there are a lot of people with LDE or little dick energy complaining. It's like, this is a man-hating show. Hey, if it's not for you, it's not for you. I found it's all right. I mean, it's a first episode that it drags a little at the beginning, but like once we actually get to the part that we all actually care about, which is this lady becoming the Hulk, it moves at a pretty decent clip and has some humor in it that is entirely believable.
So you're saying it's like every other origin movie and TV show ever?
It absolutely is.
Okay.
Which is why, like on a scale of 1 to 10, 7.
I'll probably watch it
That's
tomorrow.
solid. Okay.
Yeah, it's solid. Not the best, but definitely not the worst like a lot of people are trying to make it out to be.
Well, hopefully it's not bad because it's an extra long season. So it's 9 episodes instead of the typical 6.
The fact that we're calling a 9-episode season an extra long season is absolutely ridiculous.
for Disney Plus.
Okay, I mean, WandaVision came out of the gate with 9.
Did it really?
Yeah.
It did.
Oh, okay.
That's
probably why it felt so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, WandaVision was 9.
I wanted
a
that
lot of the
series to
ones
end so much faster.
a lot of the
Wasn't
ones
Falcon,
between that.
Falcon and Winter Soldier 9 as well?
Falcon and Winter Soldier was 6.
Was it?
Actually, a lot of the ones between WandaVision and this one were 6.
Yeah, I thought they were all
It
6,
was like
to be honest.
Falcon and Winter Soldier,
up to this point.
Hawkeye, Ms. Marvel.
My internet
Were there
sucks
any
down
other
here.
ones?
No, that's it.
Loki.
Loki. Duh.
Loki was also 6. I will say I still haven't seen the shorts that they have called I Am Groot.
They're funny. They're not anything special. Like I was watching them the other day with my kids. They're typical Disney shorts. They're just goofy little 5-minute long.
Oh,
and I think there's like 4 of them out right now.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think this is actually the first time since WandaVision that they've done 9 episodes for anything.
Yeah. And then, as we know, Daredevil will be 18 episodes.
Yes,
so
it is. I'm so
we're
excited.
gonna double that up.
I'm so excited.
Yep. But yeah, I finally got caught up on Miss Marvel, and now we can talk spoilers. So if you don't want to hear minor spoilers for the
Spoiler
very
alert.
end of it, big spoiler alert. Don't listen past this for at least
Nobody's listening anyway,
5-10
so it doesn't
minutes.
matter.
That's fair. It hurts.
Too soon.
But yeah, don't listen past this point if you don't want to hear spoilers. So, series itself, it was fine. I thought the first 2 or 3 episodes were particularly good, and then after that point, it got really rushed, and they were like making us
They could've-
try to care about characters that died like 10 minutes after
They could
knowing
have
them.
easily
I don't know.
extended that to like an 8 or 9 episode season. They tried
Yeah.
to cram too much into the back half
Right.
of that season.
Which
Yeah.
is really apparent when you realize one of those episodes is partially a history lesson.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not partially, completely.
Like entirely a history lesson. I was trying to be charitable,
Yeah.
but it
There's a lot of shenanigans. We're just gonna appear in Pakistan /
Yeah.
India during the separation of the two states, and
I will
we're
say
gonna magically be in the past and then magically be in the present again for reasons.
because magic.
because reasons.
Reasons.
Yeah.
And
God
then
damn it! They made
such
me
and
care
such
about
guy.
her grandmother, like her,
Yeah.
like her, like pre-partition or mid-partition like ancestor more than her during that episode. Which is like, guys, you cannot come up with a more interesting character than the main character,
Yeah.
or you shouldn't.
But the biggest thing from that, the biggest takeaway from the entire season of Miss Marvel
Yeah.
is the last minute and a half, I think.
God.
Yeah, they again. It's kind of dumb that they even bothered to insert this at all. But they went in there and had this little throwaway line, unless you know what they're talking about. That
Right.
he analyzed her DNA, and there's something more. There's a mutation. Yeah.
Which, again, you know that they had to do it some way or another, and it's probably the best way they could ease their toe into that water, you know?
Yeah. And then, as far as we discussed this last week, so this is treading old ground, but
Yeah.
you know, in the comics, she's an Inhuman, which is kind of tied into the whole Kree thing, which
Yeah.
Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel are both tied into in separate ways, and that's how they link the characters more or less. Now she's not Kree at all.
Well,
she's just a
I'm-
mutant.
Hey,
Yeah.
we'll
Which,
see.
you know.
I'm still not entirely convinced that they're not going to go that route, considering the whole what they're doing with the Marvels and everything, and the link of the cosmic powers, so to speak.
Yeah.
I have a feeling they're going to still tie into the Kree somehow. Like, possibly, maybe they're going to... And this is just me fucking throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. But it possibly as extreme as the Krees were the ones that caused the mutation.
I mean, that's
Maybe.
entirely
Yeah.
possible. That's essentially what the Inhumans were at the beginning, was the Kree mutating like a section of humans and
Right.
giving them powers.
But-
and
And
the
putting them on the
delineation
moon.
between
putting
Inhumans
them
and
on the moon.
mutants is
Yeah, and my point is...
it's entirely artificial.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and my point is like, why in the MCU, why even make that discerning fact and not just put them in the same fucking category?
Well, the biggest reason is because the Inhumans can't sell worth a goddamn.
Well, yeah.
Nobody
But
gives
they
a fuck
try.
about
Hey,
Blackagar Boltagon.
They really tried.
Imagine how well they'll
They
sell
tried
if the MCU creates them and the mutants in the same genre, and you just kind of meld them into one subspecies.
Except we had them try to kill each other.
yeah.
Because, you know, Fox
not-
owned one.
We're not talking about the comics. We're talking about the MCU now.
Okay, in the MCU, the biggest point of contention that everyone has is what the fuck are they going to do to bring the mutants in? Because it seems like, as far as it's concerned, they haven't really had a plan other than maybe dropping a hint here and there.
There was no plan.
And that first here was Ms. Marvel.
Don't let Feige fool you. There was never a plan.
There was never
They
a
didn't
plan.
think that they were ever going to have the fucking... And, I mean, granted, now in the past year or so, there's probably been the development of a developing plan, but they never had a plan because they never thought they were going to have the rights to this shit until the opportunity came to buy Fox. They didn't have a plan to include these characters. They had a plan to create characters to replace these characters.
That's true. That hence why they tried to use the Inhumans, and well, that didn't work out.
Right.
Yeah.
They had a series that came and went.
But bottom line is, I mean, Marvel's one of Marvel's most iconic franchises is X-Men. You can't do the MCU without X-Men at some point, I would think.
Right.
They've gotten away with it for 12 years.
That is true. That is true.
Right. But now, like, the growing concern amongst the fandom is when...
I just
Well,
fucking
see,
when. I just hope
now-
they don't fumble it.
Now what they have to do is create another Holocaust and then start going from there. So that way you have all of the background to work for. So probably another 40 years and we'll see a legitimate X-Men series in the MCU.
I mean, you can pull from, like, a number of different genocides that happened in the
That's
world.
true.
We're gonna make Magneto a Uyghur.
Oh!
Go full send.
Ooh, like only when we're done with China's money.
Wow.
Because you know that's a sore spot.
It's so true, it hurts. Yeah, but other than that, like I generally enjoyed the show. Obviously, I don't think cynical middle-aged men are the target audience of Miss Marvel. There's some audience concerns there, but it felt like a fun series similar to Kim's Convenience. I think.
Oh my God, I
think they
Kim's.
borrowed a lot from Kim's Convenience.
I still need to. I think I
in
still
those
have
first
like
3
4 episodes left of that show that I never went back and finished.
Yeah, I've
But,
heard
like,
the last season's really bad.
It is. That's why I couldn't finish it.
Oh my God.
But my 10-year-old daughter absolutely loved the show. It's her
I would
favorite.
assume that's the target demo,
and
right?
she's watched almost everything in the MCU at this point. I mean, I've watched it with her, and I've kind of picked and choose different scenes that she probably shouldn't watch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure the only movies she hasn't seen so far are Iron Man 3, Multiverse of Madness, and Black Widow. I think those are the only 3 that she hasn't seen.
She can skip Iron Man 3.
Yeah,
That adds absolutely nothing.
No. We started watching.
We retcon a lot of that stuff.
We started watching Iron Man 3, and she's like, "Yeah, I don't think I want to watch this." I was like, "I don't think I want to watch this either," and I've already seen it.
Yeah.
So
You can show the twist with Ben Kingsley,
Yeah.
just so she's ready for Shang-Chi, and then
Right.
that's it.
oh yeah, I just was like, so this is what happened, and this is who this character really is, and this is why it's funny.
Yeah, I would say like just that little snippet and maybe that one shot that Marvel did, All Hail the King, where you get to see, oh, he's in prison and he's just been abducted by the real Mandarin.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, oh, that's really all you need. The rest of that movie, you don't need it at all.
No, not even a little bit.
It's always
they retconned
fun.
a lot of it too.
Yeah, they did.
It's always fun to talk to people and ask them, so which is the worst movie, Thor 2 or Iron Man 3?
It's Iron Man 3 for
yeah,
me.
for me,
Yeah,
it's
it's not even close.
For me, it's Iron Man 3 too.
Yeah, I mean, Thor 2 at least has Loki in it, being
That's
like
true.
a chuckle fuck like he always is.
And meow meow.
And meow meow. Even though I hate every time she says it, is like
Cat Dennings.
that's her character.
Your fave.
They're completely irreverent, and just not giving a fuck about anything. Of course, she would call it meow meow. You know, it's
Yeah.
He hates that so much.
Yes, I hate it so much. Respect the fucking hammer, goddammit.
But it's meow meow.
Don't you do it.
But all caught up now. Just gotta watch She-Hulk, which came out on my birthday.
Happy late birthday.
So yeah, looking forward to it, but we'll see. People on the internet are gonna internet.
Yeah.
It has a female main character, so of course, all the incels are going to be pissy.
Wah.
Yeah, I've heard, I've heard a lot more about the CG being the issue.
Yeah,
than
the
anything.
CG looks kind of trashy,
Looks
but
pretty bad.
Okay.
It is what it
I
is.
will say there's not nearly as much texture like on the skin for She-Hulk as there is on Banner, but I think that's because, well, Marvel might not be paying their effects people as well as they used to, or they might just be overworking
They're
the
probably
shit
they're
out of
probably
it.
overworking.
are we going to talk about the third eye in Multiverse?
Oh, how that damn near seemed like a fucking what's that app that has those silly little effects that you can
Fucking Snapchat.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
looked like a fucking Snapchat filter. Like, yeah, we're
Absolutely.
just gonna put an eye on your forehead, and
That was
there you
the,
go.
Annoying orange or whatever. That
Yeah.
YouTube
It-
character.
yeah.
Yes.
Looked like
Yeah,
the eyes for that.
absolutely.
Now, mind you, it's a Sam Raimi movie. I kind of expect
Well,
some
yeah,
low
we all-
budget shit like
yeah,
that.
I mean, look at the Doctor Strange zombie. I mean, that was straight up
Evil
Sam
Dead.
Raimi, Evil Dead, shitty effects, cheap budget. Even though it was not a cheap budget,
Not a cheap budget at all.
it still looked like it.
But speaking of a lot of CG and not a cheap budget,
Oh no,
Sandman,
Sandman.
the Netflix series.
Oh,
I've watched the first 4 episodes. I have not finished it yet. I don't know what to feel. Like, I both love it and hate it at the same time. And I'm going to keep watching.
You both love it and hate it. That's interesting.
I both love it and hate it at the same time. And it's a weird, conflicting feeling. It both captures everything perfectly and not at all. it's a very frustrating thing that I'm like watching and I'm like, oh, this is wonderful. This is exactly what I would imagine in some kind of live action adaptation. And then something happens or somebody says something that's way out of character and I'm like, fuck. So it's enjoyable. It really is. And I think all the Netflix adaptations of things seem to have the same fundamental flaw in that they don't have a concise direction from the beginning.
Right.
They seem to be all over the place. Now, granted, Sandman, the comic by Neil Gaiman, is notoriously all over the place, and it's meant to be. It's supposed to disorient you, make you feel like you're not quite sure where we're going, and then boom, you get surprised by the conclusion and the end result, which is why it's such an effective comic book. But in the TV adaptation of it, it's hard to follow that. It's hard to adapt to that kind of cinematic nature in the comic where it's all over the place on purpose because you can see the whole page and you can kind of see the full picture. I fear, much like the Witcher series, that they're going all over the place and they're not giving new fans and newcomers any kind of grounding to know what the fuck is going on.
It's like, yeah,
It's a lot of inside baseball in the series, which is great for the fans who know the comic inside and out, like you and me.
right.
But I think for the newcomers, it's going to be very alienating, especially through these first 4 episodes that I've watched. And they've also made some changes, both I think for the better, and in other ways, not so much. I'm interested to hear what you think of it.
I've watched the entire series, and you said you got to episode 4.
Episode 4 is where I'm at.
Episode 4.
I think it's 10 episodes, right?
Yeah, it's 10 episodes. Is that the conclusion of the John Dee story?
I
Like,
think
has John Dee encountered the
Hell
Sandman?
was the last one.
Hell was the last one?
The battle with Lucifer.
Oh, yeah.
That's the last one I had.
Okay, so I think you have 2 more episodes before the episode that made me have an existential crisis for like all of a minute.
Now, have you read the comic all the way through?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I will say that there are some artistic liberties taken, and maybe a couple of mixed matches, and maybe a shortcut here and there.
Yeah.
That being said, I think that was all, from what I can tell, done to serve the story. And
Do you have some examples?
Well, there is one with the. These are episodes you haven't gotten to yet.
Okay. Well, try to avoid spoilers if you can.
Okay, I'm going to avoid spoilers. Specifically with the first 4 episodes, I'm gonna say. You've met Joanna Constantine or Constantine.
I think she's episode 2 or 3. So yeah.
Yeah. The liberties that they took with her were specifically to basically make her a different character from John Constantine, which it kind of works and it kind of doesn't.
It doesn't work for me. I get what they were doing, and from what Kevin Smith is saying, it's a rights issue because HBO Max is currently in production status for a new Constantine show.
Right.
But
The hashtag worked.
Oh my god.
almost. I don't know if you've seen the news, but they're apparently not casting somebody who looks and has the
Of
part of
course
John
not.
Constantine at all. So
You mean they're
not.
passing on Matt Ryan?
they're passing on Matt Ryan.
Son of a. Okay.
Constantine's going to be black, so that's what they're doing. And he's probably not going to be British. So
What? Oh my god. Okay.
based on everything I've read up to this point.
Okay.
So no Idris Elba.
No, not Idris Elba. Yeah.
It's like
He
if
was-
you're going to go black, you go Idris Elba because it's. I mean, he would basically be like the perfect black version of Constantine, but they're not even going British.
That's what the news says.
I mean, we
Of
already
course, we're reporting on rumors.
rumors.
Everything is rumors.
Rumors, which means they're probably discussing whether or not that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm
But the
gonna
problem is,
Somebody overheard a conference call to
yeah,
somebody who said, "Hey, I think we're thinking about doing this. What do you think about that?"
like, oh my god, if
Yeah.
I
But
just
again,
want to put my thumb on the scales. a little
know
everything
what
bit.
I'm
everything for
thinking about.
WB Discovery is up in the air at this point.
I'm
so-
thinking you should fucking put Matt Ryan in there.
Yeah, the
Hashtag
man's
save
perfect.
Constantine.
It's
Hashtag
like
save Constantine.
if you want to give him what I like to call on Marvel's side the black best friend or the black sidekick, by all means. Maybe even go back to the show where you had an angel who was black, who was constantly hounding him to do the right thing.
I mean,
There
there's
are-
plenty of spots available. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. No,
It's just- they're also making a black Superman movie, which is a whole nother thing.
we'll see if that's still in production
Yeah,
because
supposedly it's in flux,
what's-
but likely canceled. 'Cause
what's currently
HBO Discovery.
being referred to as the Axe of Zaslav is the man is
Zaslav. Sounds like the best D&D weapon you should introduce.
Yes, I am doing that. 100%. We are having the Axe of Zaslav.
yeah the
It
special
just instantly kills anything it touches.
no it cuts off futures. If you had a future plan, no you don't. Yeah, I would say keep watching. There is one episode, I think it's episode 6, that it was that one, and I think the following episode 7, that both had me like really fucking depressed for a minute, but then weirdly lifted my spirits like in the following episode.
I mean, that's what Sandman does best, both in the comics and it sounds like the show.
Oh yeah, like if you want an existential crisis, watch the Sandman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I need to check it out.
Oh yeah,
I might watch it this week.
yeah. Well, watch the first episode and see if it's right for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first episode is like all
I-
these introduction shows. Like the first episode's always kind of the longest, and you're like, okay, what's the point of this? And then it kind of gets going after that.
I'm a little concerned because I don't like change. And I looked up the episode, the casts and everything, and when you were talking about the Hell episode and the fact that they have Gwendolyn Christie playing Lucifer Morningstar and it's not fucking Lucifer
like
really
the actual Lucifer.
fucking bothers me.
It works. That's one of I'm going to be upfront. There's a lot of diversity motivated changes in the show from the comic. A lot of it works, and a
Yeah,
lot of it's
but-
perfectly fine. Lucifer,
Tom Ellis.
I get it. He's very good in the role. He's very good.
fantastic as Lucifer Morningstar.
But
Now, mind
unfortunately,
you-
this is not tied to that.
Both Gwendolyn Christie and Tom Ellis basically caught shit for not being David Bowie.
But yeah,
I mean, no one who plays Lucifer for a DC related property is going to really go without, catching some smoke from the fans.
yeah. Some of it's warranted, some of it's not. I think
Tom Ellis, man.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He is.
there's a lot of good stuff to see in this show, and there's a lot of diverse roles in this show, for better or worse, and some of them work really well. Like you were mentioning, Lucifer works very well. She's very menacing. She plays the part perfectly.
I mean, Gwendolyn Christie is
Yeah.
fantastic, so
Yeah.
I'm sure she does a fantastic job. But
Yeah, she does a great job. Some of the demons are changed into women that from the comic, and
Yeah.
it works. It's fine. It really doesn't change anything narratively or cause any kind of like significant iconic statuses to disappear. I think the one that bothers me though is Lucian, because the whole point of Lucian is that he's this tall, lanky, like old butler type, and they changed him into this short young woman and it just doesn't work. I don't like he has a very iconic image and it just doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Let's be clear. It doesn't work for you. I personally,
Obviously all of this is subjective.
yeah, like I personally didn't really lose much because, I mean, looks aside, they performed the same function. And actually, in a couple of places, in the story that they're trying to tell,
I mean, they didn't even change her name.
I mean, the spelling is like
Lucian.
Lucien.
Like it's so dumb. It's so forced. Like if you have to force it, you're probably making the wrong decision. The stuff that didn't have to be forced, like Lucifer, it works.
Yeah,
Like you didn't have to force that one. The actress played it well. I think Lucian doesn't work. It just, I don't know. Lucian as the character doesn't work. We talked about Joanna Constantine. Apparently, some of that is rights issues behind the scenes because they're adapting another John Constantine product, and there's still technically the Berlantiverse, Arrowverse version, which came from NBC.
yeah.
So there's a lot of things in the air, but it's still made by WB, so I don't see why that would be an issue. And the problem with her is not that she portrays the character poorly. She does a good job. The actress does a good job, but they change who Constantine is. Constantine's wearing a designer coat now and living in basically a Manhattan loft, and just nothing rings Constantine about this character. The character doesn't chain smoke. The character doesn't have the iconic long trench coat. Like nothing about the character screams Constantine. And the Joanna Constantine character existed in the comic book and had a really cool arc in the past because she's an ancestor to John Constantine. And now you've eliminated that. And
I will say that version of Joanna Constantine does still show up.
In the past?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Is it still Joanna Constantine?
No, that one's John.
Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, hilariously, the one in the past, she's named John Constantine. No. No. The character Joanna Constantine, the one that you know from the past, who's basically the house necromancer for the British Empire.
Yep.
She shows up.
Okay, so we're just keeping the name the same, keeping the story. That's good news.
Essentially.
Okay.
I mean,
how many times have you seen, this is Mark. He's named after my grandfather, Mark. So, yeah, absolutely. Keep the fucking name.
I mean,
the
his
same. Who
name is
cares?
John, so makes sense that Joanna was a predecessor. But,
John Anna.
yeah, or a
Joanna.
long line of Johns and Joannas.
My name
But
is
yeah.
Bruce. This is my brother Bruce. This is my other brother Bruce.
and have you met my father Bruce?
I'm sure for the newcomers, they'll enjoy Joanna Constantine and have no problems. But for people that are fans of John Constantine and Hellraiser, and I don't know, it just why would you erase such a great character, such an iconic character that brings so much brand clout to your new product that you're trying to push to a new audience?
Because we needed the show out now and not,
Right.
in the indeterminate future when we finally have the rights back to use them.
And everything gets canceled.
Again, I don't. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
it's being made by HBO Max, which is owned by them. So there's the rights
okay.
issue doesn't make sense to me.
you do realize that that's the parent company of Doing Cocaine Comics.
Arguing with themselves as they cancel all of their own already made products. But yeah,
yeah.
there's a lot to love about it. I really think they set great tone with every episode. Every episode really does stand on its own. There's very little tying in all the episodes together so far. but I'm sure it's going to come to a climax because that's what Sandman does. Is they drop little anecdotes here and there, and then they hit you all with it, later on in the series. And I'm assuming that's coming.
The last episode of the season does tie everything together.
Yeah, and I think the main actor does a wonderful job. He nails the role.
I can't see anyone else as the Sandman now.
Yeah, so there's a lot to love about it. I can't wait to watch the rest of it. But like I said, every episode there's like one or two things that they change. I'm like, ooh, I don't know if that's the right direction to go in. But other things they change, I'm like, yeah, that was a smart decision. That works. So we'll see what else happens. Anyway, we should probably get into the news because there's a lot of it, and we're doing 2 episodes worth. So as we talked about with Doing Cocaine Comics and their parent company, we have gotten more details about the Warner Brothers Discovery Plus cancellations. Before the merger, Walter Hamada had planned to release 3 to 4 more years of DC movies within the current DCEU that would culminate with a Infinite Crisis movie and do a final reset. The movie would feature cameos from past and present DC live-action characters, including Snyderverse characters and the CW Berlantiverse. The movie plans included not only The Flash, but Batgirl, Black Adam, and Shazam 2, and also included a Green Lantern Corps project, Supergirl, Static Shock, and the Black Superman movie we discussed earlier. Some creators, such as James Gunn, have come out to confirm their projects are still going forward, including Peacemaker Season 2, which Emery loved, Joker 2 Folie à Deux, the musical with Lady Gaga, and the Blue Beetle project starring Amy Reyes, the version, not the gold era version, just to clarify for anybody who's aware of Blue Beetle. And quite frankly, the footage looks great. We'll see if the movie's great, but the footage, the costume, everything looks like on point.
I'm a big fan of Cobra Kai and the fact that they're using Xolo, if I'm pronouncing this right, Maridueña, as the lead role. I am excited for this movie.
Yeah, so we'll see. I hope they just keep it out of the Snyderverse and don't even touch any of that stuff.
It's its own thing.
And it'll be just fine if they do. Warner Brothers Discovery were rumored to be considering 3 options for The Flash. The first was to release the movie with Ezra Miller attending counseling and going on an apology interview tour prior to the movie's release. The second option was to go forward with the release without Ezra Miller doing any press, and the third option was to cancel the movie outright. However, canceling the movie would be unprecedented since it is a $200 million blockbuster project. However, it appears the apology tour will be the action taken, as Ezra Miller very recently publicly apologized for his behavior and committed to seeking treatment in the near future. Hooray!
It's a hooray as long as no one's still missing from that compound that he had.
He was a terrible choice for The Flash in the first place. This project should have been canned a fucking years ago.
It was a mistake to make the Flash basically fucking what's his name from the Big Bang Theory.
Sheldon.
Yep, he's basically Sheldon.
Like this.
Yeah.
Oh God.
The worst.
So bad. Per Variety, a few ongoing shows are now on the chopping block. Titans and Doom Patrol are most likely to be cut, according to the Variety source. Amid the turmoil, it has been revealed that the Batman 2 has not been greenlit at this time, despite having done significant pre-production work. Many projects, both finished and in the works, have been canceled and removed from the WB streaming services. Likely canceled projects are Batgirl, which is almost all confirmed. Strange Adventures, which is recently talked about by Kevin Smith. It was going to be an anthology series meant to introduce lesser-known DC characters for HBO Max, and it was basically all be tied into the Snyderverse. And then they'd bring in guest directors for each episode. Wonder Twins, which I still can't believe that was even a real project.
Yeah, the fact that they were going to make a Wonder Twins movie. We're already at the bottom of the barrel.
They just started.
They started at the bottom of the barrel.
Man.
What are they going to do? Make a 700th Batman movie? Let's watch Batman's parents get killed.
It prints
again.
Money. It prints money.
And let's never, ever, make a decent Superman movie for as long as we fucking live.
Again.
Demimonde, which is a J.J. Abrams led sci-fi series that was going to be brand new for HBO Max, has been canned, which also throws the Justice League Dark shows into question that was also going to be led by J.J. Abrams and would feature John Constantine.
Ooh, somebody save Constantine.
The Green Lantern Corps movie is confirmed canceled, and the Legends of Tomorrow and Batwoman shows on the CW are likely in their final.
Didn't they cancel Batwoman like 2 years ago?
Yeah, they're in.
Yeah,
we had an issue where what was her name? Ruby Rose.
Ruby Rose left
she quit
because of reasons that were not. Yeah.
Yep. She quit. They
Bad
brought
things.
in a new actress, and apparently reviews weren't all that great.
Yeah. Didn't it only last like 2 seasons though? I thought they already
it's
canceled
over.
it. Yeah.
It's
it
over.
technically lasted 3, but you wouldn't know that because nobody fucking watched it.
But they ended the series on a cliffhanger, basically, and have no intentions of going back to rectify those cliffhangers.
I watched the
same with Legends of Tomorrow.
I watched the first season of Batwoman and it was good. Good might be a little
Good
generous.
for CW.
It was decent, but yeah, I can't imagine it without Ruby
Rose.
Yeah.
And this comes into another whole fiasco going on with their projects. CW majority rights have been purchased from Paramount and Warner Bros. Discovery by broadcast company Nexstar. WBD and Paramount will retain 12.5% each, but Nexstar will own the rest. So, and Nexstar, if you guys aren't familiar, it's basically like a like live broadcast TV entity that mostly has like government related programming and The Hill and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yay.
So not a lot of hope there.
No.
So we'll see.
Not a whole lot.
Apparently, because of their stake in the projects, they still will allow them to use like DC properties and stuff for their TV shows, but we'll see how that goes. And then of course we know The Flash's final season was shortened to 13 episodes. And is
Mercifully.
wrapping up very soon. HBO Max has removed 36 series confirmed from its streaming platform. These are series that were already finished, already on the service, already owned by the project. And then Discovery Plus has removed 19 shows on its streaming service. While the reasons have not been presented, sources from Variety have reported that the reasons are reduction of royalty payments to the artists and creators, shocker, and taking advantage of tax write-offs that are only available at the point of merger, which means that if they take advantage of this, those things can never see the light of day and they can never try to make a profit off them again. So that really sucks for anybody that works on these projects. There's a big list of them. I'm not going to go through all of them, but feel free to Google them. They're all over the internet. Some of the weirdest items were like 200 episodes of Sesame Street. Like we're gonna leave the rest on there, but for some reason these 200 episodes are problematic, so we're just gonna
we're weirdly gonna leave all the episodes where Elmo gets pissed at a rock.
That was during Big Bird's cocaine phase.
Yeah. It's very strange. As you like to say, corporate greed.
Yeah, exactly.
Insert clip, nailed it.
Corporate greed.
And then the final WB news. WB Game Studio Portkey has delayed the upcoming Harry Potter RPG, Hogwarts Legacy, until February 2023. The game was originally scheduled to be released in 2021, but it's several setbacks, including the COVID pandemic.
Including the COVID.
And this game joins several other games that have been delayed to the beginning of next year, basically moving out of the God of War and Call of Duty release windows. Forspoken's probably the most notorious of those.
Yeah, honestly, I think the biggest worry that WB Games probably has at this point is J.K. Rowling's Twitter.
Yeah, we talked about it on our last episode.
Quite a bit, actually. Yeah, but nobody was ever going to hear that. So.
The gist was, separate the content from the creator.
The fact that J.K. Rowling
own it eventually.
Yeah, the fact that J.K. Rowling really has nothing to do with this video game, other than the fact that she created the source material for it.
Yeah,
but I know that's not going to satisfy quite a few people, and the fact that they cannot justify purchasing anything with her IP on it even though she's probably making like 0.5% at this point off of any royalties. She's already gotten her money for the licensing fees and shit like that.
Oh,
so she's
yeah.
already got the money. So you not playing this game is not going to affect J.K. Rowling one way or the other.
Yeah, for sure. It's unfortunate that there's always going to be a very, very vocal minority that's going to try to pretend to be principled about this whole thing, and while not knowing any of the logistics.
No, they're going to skip past GameStop, not pick up this game, and go pick up their Chick-fil-A instead.
Ooh,
Delicious.
almost like there's some hypocrisy out in the world.
A little bit.
Who would have guessed?
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this Harry Potter game. I don't know if you guys are aware of the setting and the time period that it's going to take place in. It's going to have nothing to do with the actual Harry Potter. It's going to be set in the late
just
1800s.
Hogwarts?
Yeah, late 1800s Hogwarts, which is cool.
Ooh.
So you're going to start from scratch, basically, get sorted by the sorting hat, and go through all 7 years of Hogwarts, and then you're going to have an actual career outside of Hogwarts, which is awesome. So it's very ambitious, which makes me a little worried.
That seems like a lot to shove into one game.
And Portkey Games in particular worries me a little because Portkey Games is known for mobile games at the moment. This is their first AAA project.
This kind of makes me think of all the hype that came out for the first Fable game, if you guys remember that.
Oh,
and how they're
yeah.
like, you're going to live your entire life. You are going to start as a child, and the things that you do as a child are going to impact what you do as an adult. And then they didn't mention the fact that you skip literally like 20 years in the middle of the game, and you go literally do one quest and go from like a 10-year-old to a 30-year-old. And the things you do just mean that certain NPCs will say certain dialogues to you, and your character might have a few scars on their body.
And that's it.
Like, I've felt this granted, yes, that was like 25 years ago when that game came out or something like that. However, I've seen this hype before, and that is a lot of shit to dump into one game. Live your entire life in this video game.
It's like Harry Potter, The Sims.
Yeah. The concept of over-promising and under-delivering is nothing new for the gaming community.
Well, this is very true.
And we know WB.
Ooh.
Also,
They don't know
very
what
true.
restraint means, both in budgetary constraints and in promising.
What they didn't tell you was the person who originally wrote out this pitch was Ezra Miller.
Oh, I was going to
Don't say
say
that.
Todd Howard because, according to them, it's not about how the game starts. It's about where the game ends up.
And what you don't know is to unlock the 3rd and 4th year at Hogwarts, you have to go move into a compound.
Oh,
Harry, the settlement's under attack. All right, so really looking forward to that Harry Potter game. Have anything to say about all the other DC, Warner Bros. Discovery news?
Let it die.
They won't.
I know they won't, but they
won't.
should. Let it all die. Burn it with fire. Start over. Just fucking start over.
I think that might be David Zaslav's imperative.
It seems to be his intent.
It's like cut out anything that either he looked at personally and knew wasn't going to sell well, or like all of these other things that are just bleeding money, and just we're going to cut it. We're going to start over, which is for the best, all things considered.
Yeah.
Let's just hope that the one thing that he does cut is their supply of cocaine.
Well, that won't happen as long as Walter Hamada is in charge of creative. So we will see what happens. But yeah, it's encouraging in one way, but there's still stuff coming. They're still working on fixing Aquaman 2, which because of Amber Heard.
Yeah.
We don't need Aquaman 2.
No, we don't need Aquaman.
We don't
2.
need The Flash. We don't need an Infinite Crisis reset because we don't want...
we already had an Infinite Crisis reset. It was called Ezra Miller.
Yeah. We don't need these things. So please... Start from scratch. Release Shazam 2 just so I can have that and then move on.
Yeah, release Shazam 2 and release Aquaman 2, but with Batman weirdly spliced in where Amber Heard's
Bruce Campbell.
I love you.
Maybe.
I take it.
Put in Bruce Campbell.
Just awkwardly put him in where Amber Heard's supposed to be.
Well, there was
every time.
Yeah, we talked about it.
I hope they have a makeout
quite a
scene.
few. We talked about it quite a few episodes ago. About there was an online petition to actually replace Amber Heard with Bruce Campbell for Aquaman 2, and it had over 1 million signatures.
God.
I mean, DC's insane enough to do it, so
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised.
For that, do cocaine.
Yeah, absolutely. Put Bruce Campbell in there.
This is going to become a Morbin situation. I can feel it already.
Yep.
Next up on the news, it's heavy D&D, so
Yes,
you guys
it
are
is.
probably going to take the lead here.
Go ahead and take a nap.
All right. All right.
Oh no! Listen close because Babby's first D&D session is coming.
I'm sure I'll learn a lot from this. I'm sure I'm going to retain all of it.
So, yeah. Do you want to do the honors?
Yes. Well, the announcement of One D&D, which happened as of our recording last Thursday.
Yeah, it was just a few days ago.
Yeah, it was just a few days ago. Supposedly a revised and expanded stable rule set based on
6th edition.
And we're gonna get to that. And revised and expanded stable rule set based on 5th edition that will be unifying everything going forward. It will include physical, digital bundles, which will be a combination of, like, once you buy a book, you're going to get a key
Which
that gives you
is
access to the
something
digital book.
And I'm sure everyone else who has a D&D Beyond subscription has been wanting for years.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't want to have to buy my books twice.
Yeah, please don't make me.
And now that D&D Beyond is part, or soon to be part of Wizards and not their own separate entity that needs to make their own money, it is the fact that it's happening makes me very happy.
It's worth noting the comic book industry has been doing this quite well. With the exception of DC, they still don't do it.
Yeah, and Wizards of the Coast is just now catching on.
Yep.
And mind you, the biggest hiccup was that they didn't own D&D Beyond.
Which D&D Beyond is the premier digital platform for all things D&D. So,
but now that they own it, they can actually move forward with that plan, which is what everyone has wanted basically since the beginning of D&D Beyond.
right.
Also, One D&D is going to be soon, most likely in 2024 at this point, going to be utilizing the Unreal Engine with software for modeling and tilt and shift camera focuses to replicate the tabletop experience, which honestly I'm both excited for and worried about because, one, this is them trying to basically get into as close to a video game as they could possibly manage.
I mean, yes and no. Watching that video, the announcement video for this, they were very, very, very specific on saying this is not a video game. We are not trying to make this look like a video game. We want this to be a virtual tabletop. We want you to realize that you are still playing a tabletop game. They hammered that point in.
They did. Which leads me to the next point that I'm going to make. Every single virtual tabletop that's been made to replicate that experience now basically has a sword of Damocles hanging over their head.
Yes, absolutely. And here's the thing. I mean, virtual tabletops, especially after COVID and everything, became huge.
Oh, yeah.
You have Foundry, Roll20, all of these other, and also you go into the virtual reality like the Tabletop Simulator and shit like that.
Oh, yeah.
Which I guess the good thing about Tabletop Simulator is it's not just for D&D. It's for literally people play poker on Tabletop Simulator.
Yeah.
So they still don't have to worry about too much. Yes, they're going to lose their D&D to probably this because I don't know if you watched that video, but it looks fucking incredible.
Oh, I watched that from beginning to end, and
the,
I don't think I've seen models that detailed
yeah,
anywhere
the
else.
fact that, and they talk about a detailed character customization in there. So the fact that you can actually customize your minis to look exactly how you want. We haven't seen details of that yet, but with the things that Unreal Engine can do, there is no reason they can't have a Skyrim level character customization for your mini at this point.
Yeah.
That's a good point, because I was going to ask you guys a question if you think this took anything away from the imagination aspect of Dungeons and Dragons, where you are imagining what your character looks like and all this stuff. Yeah. But if they have such a in-depth customization of the minis themselves, that would fix that, right?
Which again, we don't have any details of that yet. We just saw a handful of minis that were pre-developed in this little, snippet video that they did. But they talked about how they wanted to do I think the exact words that they used were an in-depth character creation for your minis. Yep. So, and like I said, look at games like Skyrim, look at games like, I don't want to say World of Warcraft because their customization sucks, but
it's very limited.
Yeah. Look at all of these other RPGs out there, and the fact that, I don't know about you guys, but I have spent hours just customizing a character,
creating a character. Yeah.
In even like Mass Effect, where you have like 4 different hairstyles and shit, and you have to have a military look no matter what, because you're in the military. So your looks you still gotta like tweak those eyes just a little bit more. So
yeah, someone who's played a whole lot of Elden Ring since it came out, creating characters is like almost a game unto itself, because sometimes you want to make someone who looks like a badass or like someone who belongs in an action movie, but sometimes you just want to make the ugliest motherfucker you've ever seen in your life.
And like we've already had D&D model creation through things like Hero Forge and
Eldritch Foundry,
thank you. And things like that, which give you a pretty solid, like, you can pretty much make exactly what you want and what you imagine in those things already. So to have them incorporated into their own virtual tabletop is pretty fantastic.
Yeah. But while all of that's true for the virtual tabletop, let's circle back to One D&D. We need to talk about that because, for the longest time, to preface what we're going to talk about, up until One D&D was announced, D&D was released in commonly called editions. Like the very first form of D&D, like we call that first edition, or at this point, OSR, old school rules. There was Advanced D&D, second edition, third edition, and then 3.5, which a lot of people liked.
And we don't talk about 4th edition.
We don't talk about 4th edition. As much fun as I had with that system, it was deeply flawed.
And then the current edition, which is 5th edition, which came out in 2014. So we are at by the time One D&D comes out, it will have been a decade since 5th edition came out.
Full decade.
So not to sidetrack you guys too much, but what's the major difference with each edition?
Rules, the way things, more or less the way things are handled when it comes to, like, prior to which edition was the D20 rule established? Was that 4th or was that 3?
I think that was 3rd edition.
So prior to 3rd edition, they didn't do the roll a D20 for every skill. You had different ways of rolling different skills. Like now in 5th edition, and even prior to that, ever since the introduction of the D20 rule, if you say, I want to jump across this chasm, as the dungeon master, say, okay, make an athletics check. You roll 1 die. You roll a d20. You take that number, add your modifiers, and that's goes against whatever my predetermined difficulty or challenge rating or DC. Not doing cocaine is.
I got excited.
Yeah. And if you meet or beat, then you win and you are successful. If you are under that, you fail. So, and that goes for every skill, everything that you do almost in D&D comes down to that D20 roll, the roll of the 20-sided die. Prior to that, I never played, so I don't know the rules that well.
I think that it might have been mostly D6s, or like what everyone like will know as dice, like the 6-sided die that everyone uses for every game that isn't Dungeons and Dragons. I'm pretty sure like the first edition AD&D and maybe second edition were primarily D6s. I'll have to go back and check, but yeah. The one thing that you will notice about the editions is that the way that the rule set, like how things are determined, it has consistently changed with each edition to the point where second edition to third edition is like a hard change.
Yes.
Third edition in 3.5 to fourth edition was a hard change.
And the thing that also you have to realize is that in each edition, things got simpler. So, like, prior to some of the more recent editions where you just have AC or armor class, which is a specific number that, say you have an armor class of 15. Somebody attacking you has to roll a 15 or higher to hit you. If they roll a 14, they don't hit you. You block the attack or you dodge out of the way. Prior to that, they had THAC0.
2-hit armor class 0, and good God. Like, if I wanted to come up with an obtuse system to determine how someone gets hit or not.
You needed a calculus degree to figure out whether or not you hit.
It was
Sounds efficient.
Yeah.
It was not efficient at all. It was needlessly obtuse.
And that's been the biggest change, is also the streamlining of different skills and stuff like that and everything, especially with 5th edition. I believe 5th edition was the biggest change to make things more newcomer friendly is the good way to say it. Yeah.
Well, that makes me curious, because I know there's like those like crazy D&D groups that have been playing the same theoretical game for 20 or 30 years or whatever. Are they changing editions? Like,
no, most
story,
of them,
or are they still on the original rule set?
There's this one guy that I just watched a YouTube video for. One of my guys at work sent it to me. There's this one dude who's been running the same game for 40 years.
I know which video you're talking about.
And
that's probably the same one I saw.
And he's talking about, and first off,
he had to kill his daughter off at one
his
point.
Daughter, yeah. So, like, that guy, first off, that DM is everything I don't want to be in a DM. That guy annoys the piss out of me, and I would hate to fucking play for him. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
When they
He's tearing down legends over here.
Yeah. When they
Nick Marlatt, everybody.
Exactly. I mean, clearly he's running an entertaining game since he's been doing it for 40 years.
For them to be committed to that for that long. Woo.
However, the way he plays and the things he was saying. The things he was saying in that video just made me like, really, dude? You fucking chill the fuck out. God complex way too much. But anyway, in that video,
it's a bit much.
In that video, he does.
I mean, you have to be pretty extra to do this for 40 years.
In that video, you do go across everything, and he has an AD&D, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons player handbook, sitting there. So my assumption from watching that is they are still playing 2nd edition.
Yeah, that's one thing that you will commonly see in a game is, like, if you are playing a game and a new version of that game is coming out, they're most likely not going to switch to a new system until that game is either finished or the entire party dies.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. Like this new, fuck it, it's 6th edition. I don't fucking care this backwards compatibility bullshit that they're talking about. This
it's
when
like
you
their PlayStation or something.
When you straight up say we're doing a brand new player's handbook, a brand new monster manual, and a brand new fucking dungeon master guide, it's a new fucking edition. It's 6th edition. I don't give a shit. I will not be adopting 6th edition, at least not in the current state that they're talking about, at least for quite a while. And there is one, and again, all of this is tentative. It's Unearthed Arcana, which means it's more or less beta testing. So nothing that is announced right now is official. So things will change between now and next year when these launch. But I swear to fucking Christ, if this fucking crit rule is still in there that they're talking about, and I'll get into it in a minute, I will not be switching to 6th edition. And if you want to play in my games, we're playing in fucking 5th edition.
Don't you have the freedom, though, to just say, hey, that's not
Yeah,
valid. We're
we
not
do.
going to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do
And-
everything else.
yeah.
6th edition.
And absolutely we do. And that's probably, let's be honest, that's probably what I'm going to end up doing anyway. I'm not going to be that petty. But this crit rule. Okay, so for those who are not vested in the world and the lore and the terminology of Dungeons and Dragons. So when attacking with either a weapon or spell currently, with either a weapon or spell on when you're attacking, either the player is attacking or the Dungeon Master is attacking the player, you roll a d20, add your modifiers, your strength or dexterity or whatever modifiers you have plus your proficiencies, gets your attack's number. If that number is higher than the armor class, you hit. However, if you roll a natural 20, so that means you roll the dice and it pops up with a 20, which is a 5% chance of happening, that is considered a critical hit. So, if you're attacking with a weapon, that sword you have cuts for 1d6 plus 4, whatever, plus your modifier. You roll 1 6-sided die and add your modifiers to it, and that's how much damage you do. If you hit that 20 and you crit, you get to double your dice damage, which means instead of 1d6, you have 2d6. Right now, any spellcaster who does a spell that actually requires a roll to hit, and any melee or unarmed strike gets to double the dice damage if they are a critical hit. And that does also includes any additional dice damage for certain other classes that have specific abilities that in certain circumstances they get to add additional dice, like the rogue sneak attack or the paladin's divine smite, stuff like that. Those dice are also doubled. This new rule that they've announced this week, which is fucking stupid, I'm just going to reiterate, it's fucking stupid, means now Dungeon Masters never crit. No creatures will crit on a player. And your crit, no spellcasters will ever crit. The crits only affect weapons, melee weapons. It was melee weapons too, which means no ranged, no bows will ever crit. No ranger will ever crit again. It was melee weapons and unarmed strikes are the only things that crit. And that is fucking stupid.
To reiterate,
it's fucking stupid.
Yes. The biggest source of contention about this is that when you roll a d20 and you hit that natural fucking 20, which is supposed to be one of the most momentous occasions in the game when you're playing, it's like, oh my god, I rolled a nat 20. Oh my god, I get to double all the damage. The entire point of that was to make rolling a natural 20 like a big deal,
like
on both sides.
If you want to,
So now you get nothing.
If you
lose.
if you want,
Good day, sir.
if you want a perfect example of how that is supposed to feel, Critical Role, one of their one shots, it's called The Search for Grog. At the very end of that, the one player, Travis Willingham, rolls 2 natural 20s in a row. And this is a live they did this live at like a comic convention or something. So there is an entire crowd of like couple thousand people in the audience, and he rolls 2 natural 20s in a row on 2 weapon attacks, and you just hear everybody just fucking burst out, and that's how it's supposed to feel. And they are taking all of that away from everyone except for somebody who plays a martial class, which is fucking stupid.
Yes. It's real dumb. It's real goddamn dumb. This is... And I get the impetus behind this. I really do. When you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, level 1 is where... It's where you are the most vulnerable as a player. I get it. I really do. Like, if a creature crits on you when you're level 1, you're probably dead.
Well, wouldn't that just be an excuse for like a training wheels phase
And
instead?
yes, and
Like,
here's the thing.
Okay,
like,
you can't. The creatures can't do crits at this point of the game.
yes, that
until
would be-
everybody's level 5. or
that would be
something.
a
Right.
good idea.
That's a good home
here's-
rule. That's what a DM is supposed to
Exactly.
actually legislate
And
when he's at the table.
Here's the thing. You have, like I said earlier, each edition has been more or less dumbed down from the previous editions and made more newbie friendly and more user friendly.
Yeah.
And this is just another step in that evolution. This is another step to make it so people enter the game and stay in the game. Because if a new player comes into the game and they start at level 1, which first off, I don't know anybody who actually fucking starts at level 1. Most games start at level 3. If you're doing a full campaign, most people start you at level 3 because level 1 through 3 kind of sucks.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue with that going forward, which also ties into one of the other things that they revealed, which is how they're changing backgrounds and races.
Yes.
They're trying to make that first level mean a whole lot more.
Right.
They're trying to have a whole lot more come online, which is honestly turning into them overcorrecting
Yes.
to the point where it's making the game
Because
unfun.
what I was going to say is, if you've never played Dungeons and Dragons before, you've never played a TTRPG before, and you go into this brand new game that somebody's putting on, somebody invites you in, and you start at a brand new, fresh level 1 character, and in that first session, you die. And your character is done, and you cannot resuscitate that character, and you have to roll a brand new fucking character after. As somebody who just got into this game less than 2 years ago, I can tell you that first character you roll is going to take you a better part of like 2 hours to figure out how to create that character. And if you spend all that time creating that character and then you die in your first session and they have to basically more or less tear your character sheet, you're not gonna stay in that fucking game. You're gonna be like, this is bullshit. I'm gonna go fucking play
Like a
Madden.
Souls game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna go fucking play Skyrim because at least when I die there, I just respawn.
Right. And like the idea behind trying to make characters even less killable in the early levels, I get the impetus, the idea behind it. But the thing is, the way that they've corrected it has basically turned into this game is already very difficult for like DMs to actually like kill player characters. So like the opportunities to do that are far more when the characters are at lower levels. When you make it so that even level 1 characters have a much more reduced chance at dying, at that point it becomes like what is the DM supposed to do other than like basically just watch all of his effort, all of his time and energy spent in trying to come up with something difficult for the players to do, and watch all of his players steamroll
And
it.
it's not about wanting to kill the players as a dungeon master at all. It's about wanting to give them that challenge so that way they feel rewarded and they feel accomplished when they do finally end that battle.
For that to happen, there needs to be stakes.
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
There has to be a point where you can lose.
And you
Right.
feel like, oh shit, I'm gonna die. I mean, it's the equivalent of playing a Dark Souls game versus playing like Super Mario Brothers on easy. Yeah, I can jump and fucking, murder all these toads as much as I want, but it's going to get boring after a while, there is no danger. There's none of that heart pounding, oh shit, are we going to make it through this?
Yeah. Some people just want a Just Cause game, in a fantasy world. Just let me wreck shit.
Yeah.
And mind you, there's nothing wrong with that. But Just Cause isn't Dark Souls, and Dark Souls isn't Just Cause.
Yeah.
This is weirdly them trying to make a square peg fit into a round hole, as opposed to just accepting that this might just be a square peg.
Exactly. And also, it's kind of insulting to the Dungeon Masters, because that's what, I mean, one of the first sentences in the Dungeon Master Handbook basically says, more or less, make up your own fucking rules. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But it basically says, these rules are a guideline, and if it doesn't fit your play style or people aren't having fun, change the rules. This whole game is about homebrew and shit like that, and making things that fit the people who are playing. It's kind of an insult to the Dungeon Masters to basically change the whole rules because you don't believe that Dungeon Masters have the ability to make a challenging game for lower level players without destroying them.
Right. It's disrespectful to the DMs who are also there to either give a challenge and also, some things in a game should be impossible.
Right.
And that dovetails into a whole nother issue. A very controversial thing, at least to me. D20 tests, which now ability checks, initiative rolls, attack rolls, everything where you roll a D20 now falls under the umbrella term D20 test. They have now made it so that anytime you roll a natural 1, that's an auto fail. And if you roll a nat 20, that is an auto success.
Yeah, and that shouldn't be a thing. I mean, in most cases, I'm probably going to roll a natural 1 and auto fail. But if you say, for example, you are a ranger with a plus 11 to your perception, even if you roll a natural 1, that's still a 12 to your perception. You can still see shit. This is what you do. This is what you've trained for. This is literally what your class is about.
Yeah. I mean,
you might not do it to the best degree at that point. There might be something, that fucks with your head at that point, and you might miss something, but you're still not going to completely fail. Just like if you are let's say a gnome wizard with a strength score of 8 and you try and, lift this fucking 200-pound boulder and push it out of the way, and then you roll a natural 20 and you fucking succeed on that.
I mean, we're bending and in a lot of cases breaking the nature of plausibility when it comes to things like that.
He found a natural fulcrum and he found
absolutely.
a way.
Yeah, he found a way, which, mind you, if you are a player and you describe finding a natural fulcrum and you find a hard rod or something and a point to lift it like that, sure,
absolutely.
I'll say
100%.
a nat 20 makes sense for that. If they're just putting their hands under the boulder and going, no.
9 times out of 10,
especially if your score is an 8. What the fuck?
As a DM, 9 times out of 10, I will typically do a natural 1 as a fail and a natural 20 as a success. But there are extenuating circumstances to that. I am not going to make a, mediocre task.
Mediocre.
Thank you.
I am not going to make somebody who is proficient in a certain skill trying to handle a mediocre task fail on something just because they got a bad roll. Just like I am not going to make somebody who has never done something before and has a challenge in front of them, a severe challenge to somebody who would be proficient in that.
Yeah.
And they have never done it before. I am not going to make them succeed just because they rolled a natural 20.
Right. That it needs to be in some way, shape, or form plausible.
Yeah.
Depending on the situation.
I think you guys are missing the most important question about all of this. When did they start selling Meebos for their tabletop service?
Meebos?
Yes.
What the fuck is a
Just
Meebo?
scan it onto your Nintendo.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
You just create a little figurine. You
I
can buy it
completely
physically.
forgot about
you scan
that.
it.
Yeah.
You have your tabletop.
You didn't hear
figurine.
about that?
Hold the
That's
fuck on.
Part of the digital physical bundle is minis. You can get minis now. You can go to the store and buy minis, and you can scan them in, and you have that mini in your tabletop simulator.
Oh my god.
It's Amiibo.
Yeah.
It's Amiibo, or for those of you who
The
weren't
Infinity
yeah,
Disney.
the Disney Infinity, or the fucking what was it, Skylander type thing.
Yeah, I think Skylander's probably the original, the OG one.
Oh yeah, that whole deal. Mind you, brilliant marketing. Get a mini right now so you
Sell
can
it
get
twice.
prepared to.
Yeah.
You sell it as a video game and as a plastic toy.
Oh,
No.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I forgot about that part.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's brilliant marketing. Good on you for coming up with something like that. I need to get back to the.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
What were you going to get back to?
I need to get back to the whole the problem with the ones being an auto fail and 20s being an auto success. There are entire classes that would be super fucked by that, and I'm going to specifically mention the rogue. The rogue itself, as it stands right now, has an ability that I think they get at level 10 called Reliable Talent, which means that no matter if they roll a 1 or something like that, it's still counted as at least a 10.
Yes.
And when they already have a bonus of 15, usually, that can lead to someone having at least a 25. With this new rule, that basically flies in the face of what a Nat 1 is supposed to be with the new One D&D.
So you're going to tell me that a rogue who is a master thief, who sneaks everywhere, who is known, that's their shtick, is the fact that they are these sneaky motherfuckers.
The sneakiest.
Can legitimately, easily roll, a 35 on stealth.
I've done it.
Is going to fail so badly that they fuck up a stealth check. Get the fuck out of here, man. Seriously.
Yeah, it's an overcorrection. It feels and it smells like an overcorrection just because they want more people buying into the game.
Yes. I want to go back and touch on something that you asked a little while ago, and then we just we mentioned it briefly and then jumped past. Mm-hmm. You said something about the feel of being a tabletop game or something like that, using the Unreal Engine and turning it more into almost like a video game.
Mm-hmm.
This Unreal Engine thing seems really cool to me, but me personally, and you might run it a little differently, Emery, because of the fact that your DM style and my DM style are two very different, and where you I don't think there was a single scene in any of your virtual games that you didn't have a map for.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think you would do great for that, whereas I do a lot more what they call theater of the mind, where I just describe it.
Imagination. The second call for my rainbow hands.
There you go.
But getting a lot of use today.
I tend to do a lot more theater of the mind because I am very, very OCD when it comes to the scenes. And if I can't find a map or make a map that fits exactly what I have pictured in my head, I won't use a map. Mm-hmm. I will just describe the situation to you guys, and I will describe it hopefully in enough detail that you see at least 90% of what I see in my head.
Yeah.
And that, I believe, would be, again, I haven't seen the creation software for this. I would love to get a beta test for this Wizards of the Coast so I can play around with it.
Speaking of which,
wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Playtest packages will begin release later this month.
Yes,
Ooh.
That's not for the tabletop simulator, though. That's
it's D&D Beyond.
Yeah.
Yep.
However, so I am curious how that will fit in, because historically D&D is more of a theater of the mind style game. Even back in the earlier editions, that's pretty much all it was. And then they moved to these crudely drawn graph paper maps, and then moved on from there to the point where now, if you're playing on an actual table, you can buy, or as I'm doing, 3D print all of this 3D incredibly intricate terrain and battle maps and shit like that you can then do on like 2-dimension, 3-dimension, and everything else. And the tabletop simulators currently, unless you're doing one like Tabletop Simulator, which is a 3D one, are a little limited to the flat perspective. So having this, like the look of this one that Wizards is putting out, and the fact that it's clearly a 3-dimensional set, and you can use isometric cameras and go at any location, looks fantastic.
Yeah.
However, I do worry that it's going to take away from that theater of the mind aspect.
Yeah. I think one of the things that's going to be very interesting going forward is that if there's one thing that I've learned from DMing using the Foundry virtual tabletop, is that the community of modders that will most likely congregate around this new like virtual tabletop that D&D themselves is coming out, I can almost guarantee you that like within like the first year there's going to be a bunch of mods that make this way more like a video game.
That gives me another question though, is seeing as how this is going to be an officially licensed product from Dungeons and Dragons, from Wizards of the Coast, how open are they going to be to modding? Or are they going to lock that shit down?
If it's on PC, they have no choice.
Well, no, yeah, absolutely.
There's nothing they can do to stop it.
I completely get that. But my point is, you have...
That's why Stan Lee is currently Spider-Man.
Yeah.
All over the internet.
My point is, you typically, especially when it comes to the video game aspect, you really have two camps. You have the camps that are, sure, go ahead, fucking mod the shit out of our game. I don't care. See if you can make a better game than us. Or you have the camp that's like, we don't, please stop. Just don't, please. I know there's nothing we can do about it, but please stop. We don't want you to mod our shit.
Well, I think they would.
Yeah.
There's several of these games on PlayStation consoles, like Little Big Planet and Dreams, where they're basically, there's something to play there, but the main point of the games is to give you this really rich tool system,
right,
to create your own stuff, whether that's games or like play along stories or whatever you want. Dreams in particular is a really like rich, functional thing. It didn't get a lot of press because they didn't promote it very well, but it became very popular underground as just like a dev tool for people to make their own like really quirky, cool games in 3 dimensions. And I can imagine if they implicated something like that into this tabletop service,
that's kind of
that
where
would serve them the best.
That's kind of where I was going with that is, you have companies like, let's talk about Bethesda, who even back in the Morrowind days, they bundled and gave you a CD of the game and a CD of the SDK.
So you could mod basically as you wish.
Yeah, you could mod the game from jump. You didn't have to download anything. You literally had a disc with the developer kit.
Yeah, and now they even have a storefront basically for modders.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's the modding community being a thing is because it's going to be on PC. It's inevitable. Mm-hmm. But I think whether or not it flourishes is going to entirely depend on whether or not people can monetize what they do, which I'm like, if them creating their own virtual tabletop is any indication, I'm pretty sure they're going to do everything in their power to make it so that no one who mods for this can make any money unless they directly work for Wizards of the Coast.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Because, corporate greed.
Corporate greed!
Insert clip.
Yeah. Insert clip.
So, but yeah, and I could definitely see them trying to lock it down as much as possible.
So, are you guys aware of who is at the top of the food chain as far as ownership?
Of Wizards? Or of D&D?
Of D&D in general, Is there a specific company?
Wizards of the Coast is the owners, which is, I believe they're owned by Hasbro, right?
Wizards of the Coast is owned by Hasbro.
So Hasbro is the big boss.
Yeah.
Okay. It's interesting. We'll see. Hasbro seems to maintain their products fairly well for a fairly long time.
Right.
They don't always give them to the right people, but
Right.
at the end of the day, they still own it.
But yeah, and
keep it relevant.
So we should probably talk about some of the content they announced coming up.
Hold on. There's still one more thing we haven't touched on yet.
One more thing.
At least one more
And
thing.
one more thing.
So-
and another thing.
Let's talk about quote unquote backwards compatibility.
Oh.
So their biggest thing, because we don't want to use the word editions anymore because we don't want you to think that you wasted all your money and have to spend all this money again.
But we do.
Yeah, they talked about how, don't worry, all of those modules that you've purchased for 5th edition will still work and still be compatible with One D&D. Yeah, yes and no. And I'm going to take a quote from the guy who runs the DM Lair. I can't remember his name, on YouTube, who was talking about this. And basically what he said is, while yes, you more or less will be backwards compatible and will be able to run these adventure modules with the new rule sets of 1D&D, it's the equivalent of, like, for those, video game WoW players or something, it would be like going into a level 1 dungeon with a level 10 character. You are bumping up these entry levels so much and making it so that these level 1 characters are so overpowered by 5th edition specs that these, early level modules for 5th edition there's going to be no challenge whatsoever.
Yeah, I think the biggest addition or change that they're making to level 1 has to do with the character creation, specifically backgrounds. Normally, when you would pick like a pre-established background, you'd just maybe get like a couple extra languages that and like a tool that you can use. They're now adding feats.
They're adding feats, they're adding skill points.
They're adding feats, they're adding skill points. They're damn near eliminating the concept of rolling for your stats in the first place, which is a whole nother hour that we're not going to get into tonight.
Right.
But they're in adding feats at level 1 for basically everyone. They're making it so that something that you wouldn't normally get until like level 4 at least is now just something that you start with right out of the gate.
And there's pros and cons to this. Mostly cons. I don't like that idea, and that's one of the main reasons why I said in my game that you're playing in that you can't do Variant Human, because Variant Human gives you a feat at level 1, and I think it makes you OP. The plus that I do like, the one thing that I do like about this change that they're doing is the fact that they're leveling feats.
Right.
And so certain feats you can only take when you hit certain levels. And that helps balance things a little bit more, because I could not imagine a level 1 player taking Sharpshooter or Great Weapon Master
or Warcaster
or anything like that as a level 1 feat. The fact that I think that feats should have been leveled a long time ago. Because there's certain things that just make you too fucking overpowered if you take them even at 4th level.
Yeah, that's if I were to say they plagiarized anything from Pathfinder 2nd edition, it would be feats that are gated by a certain level. Like Pathfinder 2nd edition already has like built into like their entire system. Like, we have this long and probably increasingly long list of feats that you could possibly take for any kind of character that you could come up with that are based on race, that are based on class, that are based on background. But you can only take one of these because you're level 1. And then as you level up, more become available to you. That being said, there are things like what they plan on doing for Criminal, which is giving them the alert feat.
Yeah, no.
Which is like, okay.
You can never be surprised.
When half of what a DM wants to do is like maybe make a person guess whether or not they're going to be surprised, especially at low levels,
and that's,
to freak them the fuck out.
That's the whole thing about, resting in the wild when you're not in a city is taking shifts and taking watches so you don't get surprised. And then still, even that, sometimes people jump out of the fucking woods at you. Guess what? You just eliminated 90% of the, like, strategic planning of walking through from one place to another because of the fact that you're eliminating the possibility of being surprised.
Yeah, God, I would gate that at like level 12 at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we've harped on the changes that they plan on like testing for the next while.
Again, it's still very, very early in this development phase. We're basically at alpha stage, if anything.
Yeah, like we're at the 0 hour and immediately seeing what's wrong.
More than likely, all of a good bunch of this stuff will be changed before it actually comes out. I sure as shit hope that crit rule is changed, and I can almost guarantee you it will be, just from the backlash I've seen all over the internet recently, and it's only been out for, 5 days? So,
Cross your fingers.
To move on, going along with that, they did give us a tentative release schedule for next year, for 2023, and these are 5 books that are planned releases, and we have the first one being The Keys to the Golden Vault, which is scheduled for the winter of 2023, and that was a collection of adventures, I believe. Second one, Glory of the Gains, spring 2023.
I think that might
Giants.
Yeah,
I think that was Giants. Glory of the Giants.
I was gonna say that this is gonna be like
I'll edit this out. Just say it again.
Like a bodybuilder module. Oh
Glory of the Gains. Do you even lift, bro? All right,
all Giants.
All right, to continue, we did get a list of 5 books and modules that are coming out next year, to kind of go along with this One D&D thing. Starting with The Keys to the Golden Vault, which is scheduled to come out in winter of 2023, which is an adventure anthology. I forget if they announced what levels that goes through yet, but we shall see when it gets closer to release. After that is Glory of the Giants, spring of 2023. Then an untitled Phandelver campaign, which Phandelver is a setting, more or less.
Yeah, they do have a module already for that,
Yes.
but this new one intrigues me just because they haven't really mentioned anything other than it's Phandelver related.
Yes, and that is scheduled for summer of 2023. After that is the Books of Many Things. Is it books or book? I thought it was singular, but it might be plural.
Yeah,
I have to find the article again.
Yeah,
This one.
if it's a book of many things, if a book of many things is anything like a deck of many things, boy.
Well, the Book of Many Things is basically going to be the next companion guide. It's going to be the next Xanathar or Tasha's. More player options, stuff like that. I'm assuming it'll go over the backgrounds and in more detail.
Most likely. And
then following that, we have a Planescape release, which should be very interesting. I'm interested in this and what we're going to see with that, and that's scheduled for fall of 2023. Planescape is also a more or less a plane jumping adventure that goes from scene to scene, more or less. So
yeah.
So I did confirm it is the Book of Many Things, and the Phandelver campaign is the title. It's
Phandelver.
Whatever. Nerd. I'm kidding.
Well, I would assume they're probably going to change it and not
says
just call it
That's
Phandelver campaign.
the title. And it will take the classic Lost Mines of Phandelver and expand it into a much larger campaign.
Oh, okay.
So that's what it says.
And
From the source. I don't know.
Right.
and
I'm sure they'll probably change that.
Planescape, we'll see how much that differs from basically what they've already released with the Spelljammer, in which you're traveling from plane to plane, like by boat through space, which I still have to go through that book before I make any final judgments, but I'm looking for some ship combat, and I hope it delivers at least a little of that.
Yeah, it should be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about D&D in space.
D&D
seems antithetical to what it is, but that's just me. As
I would have thought that too, but then I watched Thor: Love and Thunder.
I still need to watch that. I still have yet to see that one.
You don't need to.
Oh, I'll still see it.
It's for the kids. It's really for the kids.
Yeah, well, except for when we imprison them and talk about tearing their heads off. But
Wait,
sure.
Ooh.
I'm gonna have to Google. I don't know anything about this yet.
Oh, yep.
I don't know anything about this yet.
Yeah, let's save that for a whole nother video, because grappling, I could talk about that for an hour.
So apparently there's grapple rules that have been changed or added or modified.
Apparently
Yeah.
they changed the grapple rules.
Yeah, that added to the list, that's making everyone kind of question, what the hell are we doing?
All right. Well, if you guys got nothing more to say about all the D&D news, we can move on.
Oh, I'm sure there's
For
plenty to say.
now, we don't have anything else to say more about the D&D news.
It's so ominous. For now.
It's like a change is coming.
It's like the end of every Marvel movie now. D&D criticism will return.
To grapple.
DC Comics has announced that it will be bringing the Wildcats and Wildstorm series back into the DC canon with 2 upcoming new series, of course, featuring your boy, Grifter. Matthew Rosenberg will be writing the Wildcats series, and Steven Segovia will be the illustrator. It is due out in September, and the arc will feature the team butting heads with the Court of Owls. So, normally we don't talk about too much of the upcoming stuff in the comic book world, but this is a big deal because quite frankly, doing Cocaine Comics has done fucking all with the very good Wildstorm and Wildcats canon and characters, which were created by Jim Lee over at Image Comics and then were sold to DC.
I'm not gonna lie. I totally read that as Wildcrats. And I was really confused for a second.
Yeah, it's like Aristocrats, but
No, the
Wildcrats.
That was a show. The Wildcrats.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Never
It was on
wasn't
like
that
PBS or
I was
something.
gonna say PBS or like
my
Nickelodeon
daughters,
or something.
Yeah, my daughters watched it. It was about these the Kratz brothers who are real people, and they had like animal powers, and they had these special suits, and they put little discs in it, and they took the powers of animals.
It's just Power Rangers.
More or less, but they could change them.
Oh, that's more like a character that DC already has called Animal Man that they still do fuck all with.
Exactly. But yeah, the more I think about it, it's just like Power Rangers mixed with Animorphs.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yep.
Yeah.
Remember when
the
Animorphs
Wildcrats.
was a thing?
Oh my God.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Kratts, Wildcrats.
Yeah.
I have never heard of that.
Now,
It's probably a little young for you.
yeah,
like
that's
my
definitely
kids,
for children.
Yeah, my stepdaughter. It came out in 2011. My stepdaughter watched it.
See, bringing back Grifter, I'm fine with. Sure, use more with him, like do something with him. And then I read it was going to be Matthew Rosenberg writing, which I remember
There's still a lot of confidence in you.
No. It's like he was the writer who was handling X-Men before Jonathan Hickman turned them into pod people.
I mean, at least they weren't pod people.
If at least they
Gold
weren't pod
balls.
people is your bar,
Yeah.
you rethink what the fuck you're doing.
It's interesting. You know, the Wildstorm series they had going post New 52 was actually really, really good, and I really loved that series.
Yeah.
Had a great writer on it. This one, not so much.
eh.
But I like that they're giving them the time of
Yeah.
day finally.
Yeah,
Because
let's
for the
see what
longest
they do
time, they
with
were
it.
kind of not in the DC canon, but kind of were. But we're still going to pretend like they're not really here. Except
Yeah.
sometimes, because Grifter looks cool, we're going to insert him into a DC story for like one page and then pull him right back out.
Yeah.
You know?
By
I just-
Grifter's cool, we mean Grifter's cool when Jim Lee draws him.
Yeah. Grifter's the shit. I don't know if you are familiar with the character
No,
Grifter.
not at all. I
But-
zoned out for this whole conversation.
He's basically like a badass super soldier that did like espionage shit for the CIA, and his whole costume is just like his gear, but he has like a bandana with eyes as his camouflage, I guess, his
doing
secret identity.
cocaine comics.
Hey, this came from Image, sir, and Image is high quality. But no, I absolutely love this character. I really do. And I love the team, the Wildcats team, which is the original before they had the various Storm entities, Wildstorm being the most famous. Just wanted to bring this to light for all the fellow comic book fans because it is a big deal, and the fact that they're letting them play with some Batman villains in the Court of Owls, that means that, hey, maybe we're willing to invest in this a little bit more this time around and actually give them a chance to succeed on the shelves. So
Yeah, we'll see how well that works.
yep. I think the last writer who touched it was Warren Ellis, and he did a really good job with it. Really, really good job.
God, I wish it was him again.
Next up on the news, for the first time ever, streaming has captured more viewers than live services such as cable and broadcast, according to the Nielsen Group, who is the primary ratings group. Strong performance last month included Stranger Things for Netflix, Only Murders in the Building, as we mentioned earlier, on Hulu, and The Boys on Amazon Prime. So, big news there. I feel like it's probably been the case longer than the Nielsen Group recognizes.
Yeah, I'm sure it has been.
But they probably
But-
only adjusted how they
Right.
solicit
Nielsen
these
was
ratings.
Nielsen was created for broadcast and cable. I mean, or actually, it was created for broadcast, and then adapted for cable.
Yeah.
So it's only been recently adapted for streaming as well. So yeah, I can guarantee you that this has been this. It's been the status quo for a while. It's just now they're getting the recognition.
Yeah,
Finally.
I think the big thing here is, outside of live sports, Nielsen's basically, it just needs to go away. Like, there's no reason for it to exist because everything's over the internet now. They can track their own viewership. They don't need a separate entity to track who's watching which channel.
To be honest, the only reason the Nielsen ratings are still around is for local news, more than anything else.
Yeah.
It's for the local news networks and people like that as well, and it helps for more or less for the local news networks to what's the word? Fucking my brain stopped working. It helps mostly for the local news networks to negotiate with advertisements, advertisers,
It's like checking
and
the ratings and
Yeah,
whatnot.
And it's the
Yeah.
same for sports, live
Right.
sports, obviously. Next up on the news, during a Q2 earnings call, co-CEO Nick Khan for WWE revealed that the group of potential bidders for Raw and SmackDown weekly shows are crowded and now include the streaming giant Netflix. This is on the heels of Netflix's announced ambition to have a live streaming service featuring ads and a recent bid for Formula One racing content. It's an interesting point for WWE products as they are currently streamed primarily via their partner Peacock. So if you're not familiar, they have their deals with Fox and USA Network for their Raw and SmackDown content. And then after a certain number of weeks, I think it's like 4, you can watch it on like a retro cast on Peacock. And then all of the pay-per-views are streamed directly through Peacock. So interesting that Netflix is trying to get in this game and basically steal some of that content. And of course, Netflix doesn't have a live service. But if all of these rumors are true, they could potentially have, live sports, live services, and essentially they're evolving into cable.
Yeah.
Which is what we all feared.
And their price is evolving into cable as well.
Cable
Well, they're
with
already-
extra steps, basically.
So now instead of having one service for cable that you don't want and don't like, now you have 6 services for cable that you don't want and don't like.
And like 6 services where like you pick and choose the one thing that you want, while it has an absolute deluge of content that you have absolutely no interest in.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I've been toying with the idea of getting rid of Netflix for a while now, and to be
Watch
honest,
Sandman first.
Yeah. To be honest, there's very little that is keeping me on Netflix, and if it wasn't for the fact that my youngest daughter has recently picked up like 2 shows that she actually watches almost every day on Netflix, I probably would have gotten rid of it as soon as I finished Stranger Things.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. I think given that Netflix is kind of the industry leader when it comes to streaming services, whether or not this live stream is going to work out is basically going to be an indicator of whether or not these other streaming services try to adopt the same, like, sort of like, let's buy these shows that only play live. But yeah, we'll see. Because as I haven't said this before, but I was going to say, as I've always said, as Netflix does, so do the other ones.
That's true.
Yep, and there's plenty of examples of services like Hulu who already have their own basically cable service. Built in if you choose to use it, but it's the same fucking price as cable. So it's like, what's the point?
What is it? The YouTube TV as well as another one.
Oh, yeah. They've been trying to do the same thing for a while now.
But they're all kind of dipping their toes in the same waters, and it's kind of annoying. But we'll see.
Just like everything. Everything is cyclical, and we're just in that we're in that cable loop of, cable started, everybody had cable, everybody gets rid of cable. Now there's going to be the new cable, which is just fucking Netflix.
Yeah, a bunch of services, and
people are going to stop paying for Spectrum. Next thing you know, Netflix is going to have their own internet service provider.
Ooh.
And you don't even have to get Spectrum anymore. You just fucking contact Netflix.
Thanks to the shitty Supreme Court, they can throttle you, so... You're probably right.
Yeah, the second that happens,
the only way you can get around that is creating your own internet service and making sure they can't throttle you.
Oh God! Yeah. Imagine people dealing out pirate internet.
Fantastic! I'm all for it.
Fucking hack the planet.
I am all hack the planet. I am all for it. Hell yes.
And then our final major news topic of the day. At a recent EVO event, of course, this is not that recent because this is from last week.
Yeah.
2 significant new games were teased. The first was a teaser for a new entry in the Tekken series, and the second was the return of a 2-decade-old game, Fatal Fury, which was the basis for the fighting series King of Fighters, which is much more well-known. I figured this would be big news for you, Emery. Former Tekken fan you were.
It absolutely is big news for me, specifically in the fact that if I'm not mistaken, for the entirety of the PlayStation 4's life cycle, there's only been one Tekken, and that's Tekken 7, which has managed to very, very slowly grow its roster of characters, basically gate off legacy characters and make you pay for those for some fucking reason. And the corporate greed
Clip.
But
There's a lot of corporate greed on this episode.
Yeah, it's been the counterpoint to games like Street Fighter for the longest time, because whereas Street Fighter likes to come up with 1,000 different iterations and try to nickel and dime you over the years, Tekken is okay, buy the game, we're only going to make you pay for extra characters, and this is just the game. For them to announce a new Tekken, for me, personally, that hit almost as hard as One D&D being announced. So I'm very curious.
Don't mention it. We'll start again.
Yeah. Well, Tekken announcing a new game, it's a pretty fucking big deal. Because, like, this is a game that's... how do I put this? It is exceedingly more intricate of a game, given that, like, every one of the characters has, like, at least 60 things that they can do, as opposed to maybe, like, the 20 that a Street Fighter character can do. Along with, like, these games have always been 3D, where you can, like, sidestep and go around each other.
Which, of course, makes all of those 60 things pointless. Because you can sidestep and just dodge it.
Yeah. I'm very curious to see how this goes. I'm more curious because a long time ago, back when Street Fighter and Tekken were doing cross games, the only cross game that got released was Street Fighter Cross Tekken, made by Capcom. I'd be really curious to see if they finally pull the trigger where Namco, the guys who make Tekken, finally make a Tekken Cross Street Fighter done in the Tekken style.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Street Fighter Cross Tekken was not received very well. Is that more or less correct?
It wasn't received very well because all of the content that they were going to nickel and dime you for was already on the disc. That was just
classic.
That was just bad marketing and corporate greed.
Yeah,
it kept striking.
I've never been big into the 3D fighters. I've always been more of the 2D fighters.
Same.
That's a big reason why I left Mortal Kombat and then eventually came back to Mortal Kombat.
Same.
But I did play, a decent amount of Tekken and Soul Calibur back in the day, and enjoyed my time with them. But I feel like they just haven't been particularly relevant in the public psyche for like a decade, if not more. I don't know if that's been your experience. I know you're obviously a big fan.
Yeah, that's the thing with it, is like it was relevant. Like Tekken 7 was relevant when the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One were like they were first coming out. But all of the hype around those games is slowly faded into basically obscurity.
Yeah.
Only for them to now like, hey, we're gonna make another one. Does anyone play Tekken anymore? I kind of forgot. We've been on like 1,000 different 2D fighters.
Yeah. I wonder if they're gonna make it more realistic looking, or if they're gonna stick with like the over the top, arcade machine look that they've maintained for like 20 years.
I hope they maintain that, because that's just kind of their art style.
Yeah,
and it would be kind
it's
of
very
shitty
unique
to
to them.
change
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, for them to go like ultra real, like I could see them doing it, but also weirdly maintaining the bonkers hairstyles just because,
Why
it's
not?
Tekken. It's like
boob jiggles. Gotta keep it all.
Oh god, don't even get me started on Street Fighter 6's butt physics. Chun-Li got a little over-designed, I'm gonna say that much. But yeah, that was an interesting, to say the least, announcement, but also fucking Fatal Fury or the Mark of the Wolves game that was like a completely 2D game that no one fucking played.
So
it's just kind of out of nowhere.
Last week, clearly no one saw this because, well, first off, no one watches us, but second off, that
mediocre.
that episode didn't get released due to technical difficulties, but also you weren't here.
Right.
So we talked about this last week, and we went on and I'm actually glad that you're here for this.
Okay.
Because we went on this whole like tangent about 2D versus 3D fighters.
It ended up being like one of the longest segments of the show.
It really
it'd
did.
Be like a 5-second thing at the end.
Yeah, it really did. We ended up, and I brought up a game that, in my opinion, was one of the best fighting games that I ever played in the arcade, and I actually bought it I got it for Sega Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
Still to this day, one of my favorite games. And up until last week, I could not remember the fucking name of it until I Googled it. I want to know if you, being the Fight Club aficionado here, ever played a game called World of Heroes, which was a
That was my reaction too. I was like, "What?"
It was a straight.
I think I have.
Yeah, it was a straight Street Fighter clone, like complete ripoff of Street Fighter 2, I think. And take a look at this. Do you remember this game? This game was this was by far one of my favorite, like, early mid 90s fighting games.
Yeah. See, because I can immediately see that this was developed by Neo Geo, I am immediately seeing similarities between this and their Samurai Showdown video games. And oh my god.
Yeah, I remember, like, there was the dude inside there, the like military looking dude, was actually a robot. And he would fly forward across, and like his arms and legs would expand, and it was a complete ripoff of
M. Bison. Yeah.
No, not well. His look was M. Bison, but his moveset was the like almost Aboriginal looking guy whose arms stretched.
Oh, Dulcine.
Yeah.
The yoga fighter.
Yeah, the yoga fighter.
Who the fuck does yoga and fights?
But I found
It's very relaxed when he does it.
Google World of Heroes versus Street Fighter, and they put there was this one thing that I saw that was a side-by-side comparison of a bunch of these different moves. There you go. Look.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
It's just straight.
It's literally a straight.
It's damn near shameless.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
This guy looking so smug.
Yeah, they did like a full, just complete ripoff of.
I mean, it's hilarious how damn near one for one it is.
Yeah.
And mind you, hilariously, this wasn't even like. It's not even the only fucking game to.
There
like,
you go. There's M. Bison versus.
That's fucking one for one. Good God, that's Purple Bison.
Yeah,
And it's to be clear,
purple
SNK was making hundreds of Street Fighter ripoffs during this era.
Yeah, SNK.
Unabashedly.
But the best part about this is at the time, I absolutely loved this game. I used to go to the arcade and play this because I also did a lot of. I was on a swim team in the summer, so I would go to a lot of swim meets and everything, and there would be, like 20 minutes, sometimes an hour between my meets. So I would just go to the fucking arcade at the pool and just sit there and play this fucking game all day long. And the best part about it is I loved this game, but I fucking hated Street Fighter as a kid. I don't understand that.
Street Fighter guys ripping off my World of Heroes game.
I never noticed this until last week, how much of a ripoff it really was. Because when I was a kid, I loved Mortal Kombat, so I hated Street Fighter.
They're the enemy.
I know. I despised Street Fighter.
Yeah, Mario was the enemy.
Yeah. See that. And the funny thing about this is Street Fighter, in its inception, specifically in its character design, there are like several things that they pulled from, like almost a direct rip of like characters from a manga that's completely unrelated. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, for those of you who don't know, also a show you can watch on Netflix right now. But yeah, that one, it's hilarious to me that one is the most egregious, but is the least known. Because I don't think I've ever heard anyone else talk about this game, but I will hear like 1,000 people talk about a different game, also made by SNK, called The Art of Fighting, where there's a character who's basically blonde Ryu to the point of Capcom going out of their way to make a joke character to make fun of the art of fighting. It's
fantastic.
And of course, the game they announced, Fatal Fury, also a clone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All of these
that
games
is
are clones.
100% a blonde Ryu.
Yeah, there's like, if you look up the character Dan Hibiki from Street Fighter, like they literally took the art of these two main characters and smushed them together to make an absolute idiot.
Fantastic.
But yeah, and then I mentioned Clay Fighter being my obscure
Yes, Clay
childhood
Fighter, Clay
fighting
Fighter was
video
so
game.
much fun.
Oh, I have an even more obscure fighter for you.
What you got?
It's weirdly a 3D fighter that was for like the Super Nintendo. It's called Balls, Ballz.
Good start.
Fighting game. You can look that up.
That's it. It's balls.
Oh my
It's
god!
balls.
I
It's
remember
literally
this.
balls.
I seriously remember this fucking game.
Yeah.
I don't remember this game.
I don't
at
think
all.
I don't think I ever played it.
Open
'cause
wide for Chunky. What?
This is a game that I swear to you, I thought looking back on my life was like a fucking fever dream that I had.
I never.
Tell Santa you want balls for Christmas.
That's got to be Nintendo Power. That it has to be a Nintendo
a
Power
real
ad.
ad.
Yeah, that has to be a Nintendo Power ad. That is 100%.
The
a
90s
Nintendo
were
Power ad.
wild.
The
Like,
90s were
I
a
never-
fucking wild west for video games.
I
It
never
was
played
nuts.
this game because of the fact that I didn't have a Super
I'm just gonna leave
Nintendo.
this search up so I have it for the editing process. No one's gonna believe me.
I did not have a Super Nintendo, so I never played this game.
Get
But
balls in your mouth. Oh my god.
I absolutely remember seeing this at Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Balls.
It was fucking
Super
mind blowing. It's like, wait, you can strafe around characters in a
Whack.
Super Nintendo game?
You're the man.
This is to me, back in the day when I was a kid,
Head
this
ball chalk. Watch out.
Watch out, head ball chalk.
this
Oh
shit
my
was
God.
revolutionary and a fucking laugh riot the
Yeah.
entire time.
What the fuck is this?
Oh my god.
This is the kind of shit that you don't think is real until someone actually has you until someone actually has you search for it. It's like, no, there's no fucking
Yeah.
way.
Oh
That's
my
not
God.
real, is it?
Balls.
I can't believe it is real. This
Fucking
is
the
ridiculous.
90s were crazy, man. Like
It was
this
a-
is insane.
The 90s were high on cocaine and Dunkaroos, man. It was a fucking wild time.
Open wide for Chunky via balls the video game.
That's the thumbnail right there.
Yep,
isn't
that's
it?
the thumbnail
Open
right
wide
there.
for Chunky.
This was an especially thick episode of me Hit the Books.
Yeah, that's insane. I can't.
So we got on this whole tangent about different fighting games and everything, and kind of reminiscing about fighting games, and we were talked about World of Heroes, and Primal Rage was another good one.
Ooh, the Dino fighting
Yes.
game. Yeah, I fucking remember
Primal
that shit.
Rage,
Which we
yes.
did mention is at 16-bit right now. You can go play it right
Yes.
now.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
I think it's the one in downtown.
But
Can't remember.
Yeah, when it comes to like deciphering whether or not like which one of these is better,
balls all the time.
I want to see a
balls all day,
sequel
every goddamn
called
day.
Balls Forever.
Return of the Balls.
Oh, see, God, this game needs a sequel.
Balls Resurgence.
Balls Chunky's Revenge.
Balls redipped. No,
Oh my god, there was a director's cut.
Oh, that makes me very uncomfortable.
but yeah, the 2D game, a 2D fighting game versus a 3D fighting game. It's apples and oranges. And, 3D fighter, like people who play 3D fighters exclusively are going to say, oh, it's better. It's more realistic. You can strafe around. 2D fighters are going to say, it's more fun to jump like 6 feet in the fucking
Yeah,
air over
exactly.
people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost nearly uncomparable. And
Then
For-
you got balls.
yeah, and then you've got balls, which is 90s perfection. The biggest indicator of these things like not being really compatible together is one of the very first Street Fighter 3D games from like the original PlayStation called Street Fighter EX plus Alpha. And
Oh my God.
let me tell you, the look on a person's face when you sidestep a fireball, it's like they're immediately crestfallen.
We
It's
had
like,
almost this exact same conversation, except for with Mortal Kombat last week.
oh yeah,
And how that, what was it, Mortal Kombat 4? Was
Four
just
was the
an
beginning of the end.
atrocity that should never have existed.
yeah, God, they kept that up all the way into like the Deadly Alliance and Armageddon games before they rebooted that whole thing.
Yeah, I feel like if there are any developers out there that want to make a 3D plane fighting game, they need to find a way to make an area of effect attack so
Yeah,
you can't
absolutely.
sidestep to avoid so easily. Because the
Right.
sidestepping, it's fun, but it completely breaks the game.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
It's like-
100%.
Well, to even like further affirm what you're saying, there was one game that actually managed to answer that, and it's Soul Calibur. Like instead of like
Yeah.
only having like vertical attacks, you can actually do like a horizontal sweep, and if someone sidesteps, they still get hit.
Right.
Yeah. They do that well.
Yeah.
Especially the nunchuck character. I forget his name, but
Maxi.
just spam his
like-
wide area
Last
One of-
nunchuck attack.
last Soul Calibur game I played was Soul Calibur 2, so
Oh yeah, the good one.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Then they
There's
started
been a lot since then.
Then
I'm
they
surprised that's
started
the
adding
only
like
good
Spawn
one.
and fucking all these other random characters into it.
Oh yeah, that was the beginning of the console specific bullshit.
Yeah, didn't they have Yoda or something
They sure
in
did.
one of them?
sure did.
That was for number
Darth Vader.
4.
Darth Vader.
Darth Vader was for PlayStation. Yoda was for Xbox.
That's right.
Yep. Link was for Nintendo. Spawn was for Xbox. Heihachi was for PlayStation.
Yeah,
Yep.
for Soul Calibur 2. And then weirdly, number 3 was the only one that was PlayStation exclusive, weirdly enough.
Just like Street Fighter 5 was
Right.
weirdly exclusive.
Weirdly exclusive. It's like
But
they're
apparently
like,
it wouldn't have been made if they didn't make it exclusive.
it's
so.
like cutting their money in half for an exclusivity deal. But yeah, I'd say they're kind of not very comparable.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Like 2D and 3D fighters are realms into themselves, but
Yeah.
I will always go towards the 2D fighters because the unrealistic fucking jumping 12 feet in the air and everything like
It's a lot of fun jumping that fucking
Yeah.
high over things.
like I grew up doing like fighting games in arcades, so that's kind of like my litmus test is whether or not it's going to be fun on an arcade,
Yeah.
you know. And either, like I said, in swim meets when I was younger, or when I had to get dragged to my dad's bowling leagues every Tuesday night or whatever.
Go
And he
straight
would
to the
just
arcade.
He would just hand me like a pocket full of quarters, and I'd just go sit there and play like fucking Killer Instinct, the first Killer Instinct on.
Oh yeah,
that
God, I
was so
remember that
good.
game.
So good. I wasted so much money.
Combo.
Yeah.
Combo.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
God.
everybody played as a werewolf, because why wouldn't you?
Yeah, the fact that game made a fucking comeback.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I downloaded the new version back on Xbox when that was free, but they did the typical the game is free, but you only
You
get
get
two
one
characters.
character, yeah.
I was
Yeah,
like,
you
nah,
gotta-
fuck this shit.
Yeah, that's poor marketing, absolutely. But for those like Killer Instinct diehards, it's like, oh,
Yeah,
fucking
my
okay,
go-to
I'll buy
was-
these characters two at a fucking time.
Because of course I wanted to be a goth kid. I would always play as I can't remember his name, but the dude with
Was it-
black with the fucking two blades on his.
I know who you're talking about, but I don't know his name. Like I would always default to Fulgore, the robot dude, because he was on the cover of the box art. It's
Yeah,
like
that's
it's the robot with a fucking ponytail for some reason.
yeah, that's
It's just Sector.
Yeah, it's Sector and Cyrax, straight up, but with more combos.
But yeah, really, really cool to see some previews at Evo as always. But Surprised there weren't more, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the thing that.
Fulgore. That's who I was talking about.
Oh, Fulgore. That's
The
the
dude
one.
in the black with the blades on his hand.
Oh yeah, the blades on his hand, the ponytail,
Yeah.
the eye slit things. Yeah.
Then there's the skeleton. There's the werewolf, like I mentioned. There's
Cinder.
there's the
fire and ice elementals.
green woman with the giant boobs.
Oh, Bee Orchid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will always remember Bee Orchid.
And then randomly Jargo, the one random human.
I'm a ninja, guys.
Oh, the like mummy
Oh God, which one was that one?
Ken Ra.
God, I don't even remember
I
him.
don't remember him
I-
at all.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. I remember there's a boxer dude because
Yes.
apparently we all wanted to play Mike Tyson in these games.
Yeah, Riptor too. Riptor.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, he was like a raptor with
Yeah.
jorts on. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I remembered.
Because we're actively trying to prove that raptors are terrible
Oh, and
people.
and the incredibly racist Thunder, the Native American.
Ooh!
TJ Combo. That was the.
yeah, TJ Combo, the boxer,
boxer.
dude. Yeah.
But yeah, the incredibly racist fucking Native American guy.
Yep. That's I mean, they weren't innocent, and neither was Street Fighter with fucking T-Hawk.
Yeah.
It's not like Mortal Kombat was much better either.
Oh,
Yeah, Mortal
absolutely.
Kombat with
they're all
Nightwolf.
guilty. Yeah,
Nightwolf.
they're all guilty.
Oh god.
And then the terrible live action Nightwolf in fucking Annihilation.
We don't talk about that movie.
your animality.
It's almost as bad as the live action T-Hawk, which just was there to just be on the boat. Going with you on the boat, guys.
But yeah, hopefully we'll have some more news coming out of Gamescom, which starts literally tomorrow, the day after we're recording.
Yes, of course it does.
I
Yeah.
imagine next week we'll have a lot of video game news.
Cross your
post-Gamescom.
fingers.
Well, I think that's a good point to move on to the prestigious, nay, life-changing awards of comic
Awards?
covers of the weeks. Because obviously we missed last week. So
Yeah, making up for last time.
you get two. Last week's cover of the week goes to Marvel's Daredevil #2, the Shankowitz Predator tie-in cover.
Ooh.
This features some excellent artwork from our winner, Bill Shankowitz, who has won several times in the past. Very menacing, almost a water-style art with a giant, and I mean giant predator, jumping out of the swamp water to attack Elektra, who is looking, as lewd boy attracting as possible.
Oh, yeah. I find it interesting that this cover features the costume that they're trying to go out of their way to make sure she never wears again.
But hey, it's iconic and it attracts the lewd boys. So
Yeah. It's like when you see that, you do think Elektra immediately.
yeah, usually these like tie-in covers usually suck. So I appreciate that Bill Shankowitz stepped in and made it presentable. It's like
Also,
I was very happy to see Bill Shankowitz stepping in for this.
thankfully, they called it the Predator cover and not like the race of the Predators called a Youch.
Ouch! Gotta get real deep diving, and of course that ties into the successful Prey movie that's currently on Hulu, which I've heard nothing but good things about. So
Haven't seen it yet,
definitely
but
encouraged to see it.
yeah, we'll see it one day.
As always, we're going to read the description here to help promote it. This book written by Chip Zdarsky. After Devil's Reign, capitalized as an event, everything it has ever meant to be Daredevil has changed. Thanks to Elektra and her newfound role as the woman without fear, Daredevil is more ambitious than ever, and a who's who of creators from across the fabled character's history, and some can't miss surprises along the way. This oversized epic kicks the next year of Chip Zdarsky and Marco Cicchetto's landmark run on Daredevil off in explosive style. I don't know how you can call it a landmark run before it happens, but
Yeah.
That's
Alright.
a little.
Yeah, it's a little
Counting your
presumptuous.
chickens.
Yeah.
granted, they're good creative staff there. It's actually a really good team. could pull it off, but again, we're like, why do we have to, replace the character that we know and love when the character already exists? I don't understand it.
Yeah, especially when Elektra. I mean, she's had her own comics before. I don't know why. I don't know why we have to rebrand her.
Yeah, she's a character.
She is a hero in her own right.
Yes,
right.
Or at least a character in her own right.
Why does she have to be another person's character? And then the second prestigious, nay, life-changing award of comic cover of the week comes from Dynamite Entertainment with 007 #1, the Edwards Virgin cover. This was done by Tommy Lee Edwards, who does a fantastic kind of noir style 007, featuring some kind of cold weather climate, of course, with the silhouette of a sniper, probably a femme fatale in the background. 007 himself carrying both a pistol and what seems to be a wounded individual. And then you have the typical clandestine action events appearing on the cover with seemingly some kind of
dead
body beside a train and some airport shenanigans, some city shenanigans, a helicopter. Everything you would expect from a 007 comic adventure. Unfortunately, this one doesn't have any promotional descriptions included, at least on the freshcomics.us website, which we always utilize. Definitely a good website to check out if you want to see what's coming to your local comic book shops.
Please support your local comic book shops.
So again, freshcomics.us, definitely take a look at that. But yeah, this cover by Tommy Lee Edwards has great color, has great use of basically negative color to create that snow effect across the page. Really cool way of kind of telling a story without telling you the story, featuring a bunch of set pieces, a lot. It's like that saying a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, this drawing is worth 1,000 words because there's so much you can kind of glean from it. The more you look at it, the more you can kind of pull from it and interpret. Definitely setting up for an exciting 007 tale. So great job, Tommy Lee Edwards. You have won the prestigious, nay, life-changing award of Comic Cover of the Week for this episode 62. And once again, as a reminder, Bill Shankowitz has won for the previous week, the Lost episode 61.
Lost episode.
The Lost
61.
episode.
All right. Well, that's a great place to end it for another mediocre edition of Hit the Books Podcast.
Wow, you're really scared of me saying it.
It's just so loud.
Mediocre.
Thank you all for listening and watching. Go on.
I was just going to say, I don't know why I tilt away considering I'm wearing headphones. The space doesn't matter.
Once again, thank you all for listening and watching. We love presenting all of this news to you and discussing it amongst ourselves. As always, be sure to check out the Tuesday stream at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, Those Natural Ones, on twitch.tv/Those Natural Ones. And where else can they find your content?
Facebook.com/Those Natural Ones and YouTube. Check the link in the description.
And there's also video game streams that your group has been presenting on twitch.tv/Those Natural Ones.
One of our players, Sam, recently did a horrifying playthrough of the game The Mortuary Assistant. That is really tough to say out loud. And quite a few jumps and screams, and she actually got me to jump out of my chair on this last episode about a good foot.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw it or not, Emery.
I did not get to see it, unfortunately.
I would definitely go back and check it out. And it's a short game. It's total of about 3 hours of stream total. So between the two episodes, each one's about an hour and a half. And yeah, there was a couple.
Are you uploading these to the YouTube channel
they're
as well?
on YouTube. Yes, they are on YouTube under the subheading or under the playlist Off Character, which is going to be any of our non-D&D topics that we do.
Ooh.
Great. And of course, we'll always have those links down in the description on both the podcast services and the YouTube channel. As always, you can watch us on YouTube. You can watch us on Stitcher, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, you name it. We're out there. If there are any services you would like to have us on, please just reach out. Let us know. You can always email us at HitTheBooksVids@gmail.com. You can talk to us on Twitter at twitter.com/HitTheBooks. And you can reach out to us on Facebook at facebook.com/HitTheBooks. So, anything else I missed? Anything else you guys need to promote?
No, I think that covers it.
All right. Well, thank you for watching and listening. We will see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Balls! Open wide for Chunky.
Dragging D's nuts across your face.
I think we have our clip.